This podcast is not sponsored by anyone but the people who produce it. So this podcast is produced by Atlas Media Solutions. Atlas Media Solutions is a full-service media production company exclusively serving the agriculture industry. We have the mission statement of trying to serve agriculture every single day, and that's through creating high-quality marketing material for our clients, through posting on social media every day, through not just Clayton's page, who is the business owner, the guy talking right now, but also creating content for Denton Farms, the Agriculture Podcast, the Field Journal podcast, as well as a list of other things that we put out on a weekly basis for you guys to listen to. And so once again, this podcast is not sponsored, but it is produced by us, and we are proud to say we serve this industry exclusively, and we love it, and we want to be a part of it for the rest of our future. So if you know anyone who could use services like ours, please feel free to send them our website. It'll be linked in the description. Enjoy.
Welcome to the Agriculture Podcast today. We got Drew Lafont with us, and we had his brother Matt a couple of weeks ago. He kind of told the farm story. So Drew and I have been really good friends for over 20 years, best friends, and so we're probably going to talk about some more random stuff other than farming. We also got Eric in the studio today. He's in from Oklahoma, been with Mr. Johnny Hunter over in Southeast Missouri, and but he's got a free day today and just in here visiting with us. And I think after we leave here, we'll go over to Drew's farm and maybe get you a little B-roll to go along with the podcast. So if you're interested in the podcast and what Drew's got going on, tune in back in to our some of our social media, and you'll be able to see some of his farm and what he's got going on. Beautiful farm over there. Drew, tell us a little bit about exactly where you are located. Again, you don't have to get into the whole farm story. Matt told that, but just to refresh the listeners exactly where you are located.
The farm is just north of the city of Paducah, across the Ohio River, a town called Brookport, and it goes all the way. We farm all the way up to close to a town called Golconda. It's just the southern tip of Illinois, right on the river. Everything's pretty much on the river, within 4 or 5 miles of the Ohio. Mainly river bottom, 65% probably river bottom overflow, and I don't know, it's about 6,700 acres tillable.
Going on in a typical day right now is irrigation.
Yeah, this year, fortunately, we hadn't had to run them very much. Probably ran them less this year than any year that I can recall. We have 8 or 9 pivots, and most of them we haven't run yet, except until we started turning them on 2 days ago, and we're just getting a few of them started. Finishing out the beans, finishing off the corn. You know, it's August 8th, so we're kind of on the downhill slide, except for the wheat field beans. Of course, they got a mile to go.
Yeah, wheat field beans got a while.
Yeah.
Right here in our geography, we have had it. We were dry really early, and then we went into the rainy spell in May, June.
Yes. Yep.
And then kind of got dry again for a couple weeks to let us get all the crops in, and then it's been raining ever since, every few days.
Every year's different, and I can't compare this one to any of them. You know, February and March, we were doing field work and, planting a little bit and just easing along, and planted all of our corn at the end of April, and then it started raining in May. We didn't plant anything in May, and then got into the wheat, and it started. Of course, we had to mud the wheat out. That's miserable, and mud the beans in the wheat field. So it's been a different year for sure.
Did you fill the ruts in, or you just plant through them?
We just planted through.
That's
them.
What we did too.
Yeah, we'll repair that mess.
Yeah, about all you can do at that time of year.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's not ideal.
No, it's either that or burn them off and work it all the way down, and that really don't have time to.
No,
it's time to get them planted at that point.
We didn't have time.
No, we don't have time either. We just fix the boo-boos in the fall.
Just patch it and go on.
Patch it and go on. That's all we can do.
Yeah. So that's kind of where we are and what we're doing around this time of year.
What do you feel about the crop you got so far?
I think that the early beans our early beans, knock on wood, I think that it's the best bean crop we've ever had. I mean, that early dry weather really gave it the bean plants, opportunity to get growing, not get washed out, mud holes, and grew off good. And then started getting rains at the right time, and had a ton of GDUs. I'd say we well over average for that for this area this time of the year. And if we can get, of course the wheat field beans, they got a ways to go, and our corn looks great. Could be a record corn crop too, I think.
Oh, you think so?
I think it looks good.
So Drew's had some pretty good ones. So
Just been blessed. Good rains, good conditions.
yeah, not super hot.
Yeah,
Had a few hot weeks, but it's not just been overall just terribly hot.
not those 2 or 3 week stretches. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like even when we would get hot, it would be for 3 or 4 days,
Yeah.
and then stop, and then we get a rain.
Yeah.
Whereas you go back to the drought year of 2012 here, it stopped raining into March, and it never rained.
That was the hottest air mass I can remember.
Do you remember? So that was when you and I were going looking for airheads on the river. We were going to Tennessee River,
Almost
Cumberland.
every day.
Yes, every day, and we would get on the water pretty early.
Yeah, like a
7:30, 8.
daylight, really.
Yeah, yeah. And by the time 10 or 11 rolled around, you couldn't. It was like you could jump into the water, wouldn't do anything. Like it wouldn't. It just was better than nothing.
Yeah.
Then we take off, and remember, it was like somebody took a hot hair dryer, had the temperature on high, and just
blowing
torching you.
Yeah, that's what it felt like. Like when you went through the hot air, it felt like a hairdryer air coming at you.
It was, and you could
No humidity in
no
it,
escape.
really. And like what I've never seen around here is like after you jumped in the water and you got out, it was like you were in Phoenix because it evaporated so fast.
100%. Like it was gone.
Yeah. And it didn't rain that. It was after September 20th, I think, before we started getting rain again that year.
I can't remember. Like we had a couple. That year we had a couple rains right on one of those pop-up showers right on the river. You know how they do sometimes if you're right on the river, and we had a couple there, but the rest of where we farm, and it was terrible. I remember we were cutting 15, 20 bushel corn.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think the farm just west of the shop here, we had a pioneer plot in that field, and it made like I don't know, his plot was pretty big and made like actual 3 bushel or something like that total.
And you're talking on fire dirt too.
Yeah,
really good dirt.
Some good dirt, and
Memphis silt, didn't it?
yeah, and the corn didn't make anything. Like it didn't pollinate. It's one of the only times I've ever seen that. Where you have zero
Yeah.
kernels on the ear, or
Yeah,
people like one big fat boy.
Yeah. You couldn't even get your seed back.
Yeah.
We don't want any more like that.
No, that's a dry season right there. And last year we hit a pretty dry spell in here.
Towards the end.
Towards the end,
Yeah. The pod fill on the top of the beans didn't happen the way you'd like to see.
Yeah, hurt the diameter of the bean, and then like our beans went to like 9%, and right there at the end we couldn't harvest anything on time. It was just they were getting ready too fast.
Yeah. How's your crop?
I feel like it's pretty good. I don't think we have a record here. The bean crop looks fantastic. I think it could possibly be a record early bean crop. The corn crop, I think, got hurt early in our water.
Yeah.
As a county as a whole, we got some really early planted corn here,
But that's not you didn't plant.
I personally didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't. I kind of was planting the same week you were, like the last week of April, and
it's hard not to plant when everybody else is rolling.
it is, But now that you look at it at the end, it kind of looks like waiting was the better option. I mean, I guess we'll know when the combines roll, but the corn that got planted here really early is pretty well dead. It looks like it had crown rot pretty bad, and plant disease quite a bit worse, I think, than the later planted stuff. And then it pollinated during a hotter, like our summer was actually hotter.
Yeah, that stretch
At the first
around
of
Father's
July.
Day.
Yeah,
No, that would have been is after that. I
end of
remember there's
June.
a real hot stretch around Father's Day.
Yeah. When is that? The end of June.
It was like June the 20th, I think,
It
or
was
something like
hot. The corn was just beginning to pollinate right in there, and we kind of, we went through that wet spell.
that. Yeah,
June kind of finished off hot and dry, and it kind of looked like we were moving back into drought.
yeah,
And then the hurricane came.
yep. I know this that in the years that I've farmed, the 5 best cornfields that I've ever gotten in and shelled, they all have one thing in common, and it has nothing to do with variety or company. Pioneer, DeKalb. It has to do with they were all planted in May when the ground was hot. When you put the seed in the ground and it came out smoking, you know what I mean? And uh, you just, I think you could plant it early, and it's great because you have a bunch of acres to get over. Obviously, getting your planter set, but if you could wait, I think for standability, you're definitely better off. I think you have a better chance. Your top end is higher on corn. Now, I don't believe that in beans. I believe the beans need to go in earlier.
Yeah.
That they're tougher. Obviously, they can take the cold weather a lot better than the corn can.
Yeah, I think the beans too. Like they just benefit from all that early sunlight, and the corn doesn't. I mean, I know corn needs sunlight. It's just not the same as a soybean. The soybeans just benefit so much from the super long days and the like close to the solstice, and I think they also benefit from just getting that early cool. It kind of shortens them or whatever, and that way the plant never gets as big.
Yes.
And so you getting more sunlight up and down the plant. And I think that's a big factor.
So in our river bottoms, that is what we argue. One of the main things we argue about the most with my brother and dad and myself. A lot of times we don't get to plant beans until. A lot of times we don't even get down there June. If the river's up, might be late into June, but there's 2 different layers of our river bottoms. Part of it's right on the river where you get it's the really good dirt, Arminiusburg, silt loam. Can't hardly mess it up. Then you go north of there, past the slough. Then you get in that hard clay type soil, that post oak stuff, and it just nothing grows. But the stuff on the river, you could plant it in June, and if you plant 140 pop on beans, you are in trouble. Like it's gonna lodge. They just get too tall, use too much growth, and so we keep backing off. We just back the population down. I bet if we could plant. You can't talk my brother into it, or I can't do it either because I was planting on 30-inch rows this year, and I planted it at like 115 pop, and they are right before being too tall. And they were planted in end of March, early April.
Yeah.
And they just can't get them short.
Like as you're coming in here to the shop, those fields along the Hazelwood and the Moore Road they're too tall, right? Just getting ready. I mean, like the next rain, they're going down.
Down like
down like a champ. And they, I think the final stand on them got all like we planted them 120, but like the slugs wore them out. And,
Yeah.
There's a lot of places 50, 60, 70, 80 out there, and still gonna fall.
Man, I've seen it in some of these yield competitions. A lot of times, like the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, they win.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
I mean, I think like the world record was set at like 75,000 or something like that. So,
Those dudes from
Alex Harrell.
Yeah, you met him.
I met his dad.
Yeah.
I actually sat down at a bar in Washington.
How crazy is that?
Yeah, it's pretty neat. And I got to talking to him, and he told me his last name, and I saw on his on his lapel on his shirt or whatever, Harold Farms. I said, "You don't happen to be
The
the Harold Farms that set the soybean world record?" The guy was super gracious
Yeah.
and nice guy. His wife was actually sitting on my back left or whatever, and she was interjecting the conversation too, and such a sweet lady, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm Alex's dad or whatever," and was telling me about the the record setting year or whatever. But
he give you any secret Golden Bullet.
He actually, he did talk to me a little bit about it, but I
Yeah.
don't think he wanted me to share it.
Yeah,
on
yeah, no. I get it. I get it.
I
You
think,
told me one thing he said,
yeah, I don't think he minds sharing that. He just said that chicken litter is a big key to their whole entire operation.
and they're located in a place where that's like. Didn't you say there's a big
Yeah,
facility right beside
lots
them?
of poultry farms.
Yeah.
And they're situated perfectly to be able to gather in all the chicken litter.
Yeah, that would be
That's
nice.
a big deal.
Absolutely.
It's very hard to find here. Y'all
And
got lucky and got
not much. Like we can't get
what you
we'd
need.
like.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like try to put it on the or dirt that needs the most TLC usually, and man, I don't think anything can beat litter.
No, I mean everything's in a usable form. The chicken's already got it all
Mm-hmm.
down to the the organic level where the plants can suck all that nutrients right up, and they absolutely. And I think the nitrogen has it's organic nitrogen, and
Just lasts longer.
plants just love that organic nitrogen. It makes everything black green.
We tried some on a couple years ago on a farm in the Bottoms, and well, shoot, it was 4 years ago, and still to this day, where that pile, like, and of course they get every bit of it, but there's still where the pile was. To this day, where that pile was is the greenest ever.
Everything just grows.
Just
yeah,
and twice as tall as everything else.
yeah, it's just beautiful.
Yeah, it's crazy.
We have a place we pilot over there to spread it on the Wilson farm, and it like it's kind of in the gravel or whatever, so
Yeah.
we can't farm it. And the pigweed grows the
World
size
record.
of your wrist.
Yeah. Yeah.
They
That's-
just get mega. They love it.
It's I know fertilizer companies don't like it, but man, if you could only go use that and maybe a little nitrogen, on your corn, that's tough to beat.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I'd have
You look at-
realized, 20 years ago when the chicken operations were coming in over here, I just was naive.
I didn't. It wasn't on my radar.
It
I
wasn't
guess
mine either. But at that time, it was pretty, like, I know our local chicken growers were having to sell it in Southeast Missouri at that time because the people around here weren't buying it. And
Just-
to the potato growers,
Yeah.
And what happened was those potato growers established that relationship with those guys, and they've just continued to buy it.
Absolutely, and they do a lot of land leveling over there, or they used to. I think they pretty much got where they want to now in Southeast Missouri. But to get the soil back right,
Yeah,
they're
it
like,
takes
look,
a lot of litter.
you need the quickest ways to litter it.
For sure. They over in Southeast Missouri, they take big pans and laser grade the fields so that they can flood irrigate.
Yeah, or rice.
Yep. And really, they're putting their cotton up on hips now, and I
Yeah.
think some of their corn even is on hips.
It is.
So they make if you're not familiar with the practice, they kind of plow a bed up and then flatten the top of the bed out, and then they take like a 3-point hitch type planter and set it right on top of the bed, and they don't grow in rows, and then they spread a poly pipe out on the ground and knock a hole in it,
Yep.
and irrigate the length of the field down the bed.
Aren't they on 36-inch?
38, I think.
Are they
isn't it?
38s?
Yeah,
It's wide.
it is wide.
Yeah.
It looks unusual when you go over
Yeah.
there and look at it. It's not like what you see in most of the U.S.
So we've gotten so used to on our farm either looking at 15-inch row beans or drilled beans, and now we started planting some
30s.
30s, and I think they're sexy. Like they look really, really good. And we planted some, and my dad hates them. Still to this day, he's like, I don't care if they eat them, but I don't like them. No, but we'll see when we get on the combine that yield monitor pops up. They look super good. They haven't lied. They look good all year growing,
They do. I think they look neat in those rows.
Less disease. You can walk out the field, you can see that. You know what I mean?
I know in the north where they struggle with the white mold a lot,
Yeah.
they like the 30s because it allows air to pass through the
Absolutely.
plants and everything.
Yeah.
It keeps them dry off from the big dews and stuff.
Jesse Little came and has walked at a couple plots that we have with him, and he likes the looks of them. I think.
Yeah,
I think we all do.
yeah. I got to go to Columbus, Kentucky, just a couple of weeks ago, and down through there, they're growing a bunch of 30-inch
A
row
bunch of them, aren't
beans.
they?
Yeah, they are. Like I don't know if it's 50% of the fields, but it's probably pretty close.
That like a big percent.
A big percent.
Whereas you come through our country and it's way less than 10.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's just a few
Yeah,
fields
maybe.
here in Ballard that are in
Yeah.
30s. It's very few, but like I noticed, and I didn't realize it's been a while since I've been down through there. And when I went down through there the other day, I was like, hey, they're getting close to 50% of the soybeans planted down here on the 30s now.
There's a reason.
I think part of it's too the planters are so expensive, and like if you got you a big old corn planter, why not throw your soybeans in with it?
That's why we did it.
Yeah,
Like we're like we got to utilize when we got our just 24 row 30-inch planter. We were planting a lot more corn, and now the market told us not to plant it as much, so we've backed off. But we're like we're gonna plant something with it.
still got to use it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, $500,000 paperweight ain't working too good.
No, that whole deer thing's not working good right now.
Yeah, yeah. We can get into that. In a
Yeah,
little bit.
no, I don't want. I don't want my blood pressure go up. I love them. I love deer, but what on this early corn in our area, it looks a lot of it's turned like it's very uneven as far as the coloring of it. The people's
Like the earlier corn.
yeah.
Yeah.
Have you noticed that here?
I think denitrification is a big part of it, and
Yeah.
I think crown rot was super bad. Well, in Ballard, I hadn't got to
Yeah.
be in your area in a few weeks, but I know here in Ballard, like you didn't notice crown rot early, but like the last couple of weeks, it has reared its ugly head, and we've been burnt by it here on this farm before.
Yeah, we have too.
And basically, if you're not familiar with it, basically what happens is with crown rot is the seed gets infected when it's first planted. I think it's from cold, wet weather, basically. And the plant grows off normally, and it sets its ear just like normal, looks pretty just like normal. And then when it gets, starts to get in the dough stage, I think it just gives up the ghost and just completely dies. And wherever the ear formation is at that point, that's what you got.
Yeah, that's
Your
it.
test weight goes to crap, and
What is the name of that root disease?
Pythium.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah, Pythium. That man, that's a yield robber.
That's a yield robber, and
that's cold weather for sure.
We've had major problems with that here too.
Yeah.
Used to, and I think I was super guilty of this, and probably worse than my dad. Is earlier in my career, I thought that I needed to be out there really early with a corn planter.
With you 100%.
And I would.
That's what we were told.
Yeah, I would push it into maybe not. I mean, like I kind of watch my soil condition, but like I would definitely plant ahead of cool weather.
Yeah.
I wouldn't worry about rainfall events, and I would wind up with Pythium and crown rot and all these different gray leaf spot that comes in super bad, and and then like my corn looked fantastic early,
Sure.
and then I would be disappointed in my yield.
And then you'd have a field that you didn't get to plant when you were planting all that corn, and you're like, I still want to plant this field, and you'd plant it like in May, and it just
Give
like,
it a beat
What
down.
happened here?
Yeah, I can remember.
This is good.
On the like as you're coming into the shop here, those two fields that lay out in front of the school, the field on the right, you might remember this too. Was I think it's probably been 6 years ago now, but I planted it really early, like April 1st, and it got off to a fantastic start, and it looked beautiful. And I planted I can't remember what it was, about half the corn crop, and I think we were working. We were working on a couple waterways across the road, so I wasn't ready to plant the field directly across the road from the place that I planted first. And I come back, and it was late May when I planted it, and it looked like kind of crappy early because it came a big old toad strangler right as soon as I planted it, but it was hot.
Yeah.
But then at the end of the season, the field that was planted in late May made 240 dry. And the field across the road that looked so beautiful early made less than 180, or right at 180.
Bingo.
And it looked twice as good the whole season, and just got its brains beat out. And I think that was the biggest eye-opening thing to me, to realize that, hey, I maybe need to pivot a little bit in my ideas?
I'm with you. The first time I thought I saw that we did it and planted in May, and it just like on farms that shouldn't have yielded, but they yielded. I just thought, fluke. You know that was an accident. And then a couple more years go by, 3 or 4 before it happened again, and then it same result, and I'm like, That's when I was like, but still wanted to plant early. Still planted everything early, and then about the third time it happened, I'm like, and then we started going to Dowdy, and they were like, wait, let it get hot.
That was a big. I think that was when both these farms really pivoted to our practices and changed. When we started that, it was called Next Level at that time.
Yeah.
It's Total Acre now, if you're wondering what program that is. But they really preach getting the soybeans out early, which we weren't doing that at that time. We were always concentrating on our corn and then going to our beans. Where now we're vice versa, planting our soybeans first and then worrying about our corn.
Absolutely. Like our whole area is flopped. Flip. Most farmers in our area now are planting beans first, which nobody here ever did that.
Never. I mean, it was like, I think Tall Paul Henderson, he died early in his farming career or whatever, and I wound up with his ground. He was the only person I ever saw. He had it figured out. I just didn't realize he had it figured out.
Yeah.
I wish I'd have got to talk to him more.
Sure.
Because he was planting beans in early April and nobody else would.
Yeah.
And he was just ahead of the curve. And I think he died around 2005 or something like that. But
he
as
knew.
a young man. But yeah, he knew. His dad was they didn't farm a lot, but they were fantastic farmers, pioneers of no-till. His dad was like a trade. He traded by phone when nobody else, was doing that type of stuff in the grain markets and also in the stock market as well. So, like, you'd have never known it when he wore overalls every day and were really dark skinned from doing all the tobacco all those years. He had that worn look to him.
Yeah,
but
weathered.
Super intelligent fella, and I wish I'd have I wish I'd have realized the amount of knowledge they had earlier in my life, because they were both gone by the time I realized, hey, they had a lot of things figured out that it took me a long time to figure out. And if I'd have just taken the time to visit with them more, we were good friends. I just didn't realize how far ahead of the curve they were.
That's you could have sped some things up, huh?
Sped things up a lot.
Yeah. It's we were just I don't know why we were always led in that direction. I guess our fathers did it, and their fathers planted that way. But man, information. These phones. Like, everybody can. We all have access to information that can let us try new things that we hadn't been taught to do. Just all Dowdy stuff and all. They just, the more information you get, the better off you're going to make you have a chance of making the right decisions
for sure
and changing.
Yeah, for sure. I think now we are living in the age when information is just like, you can learn to do anything now.
Yeah. Too much information too sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes it is. You start looking at the world and all the bad things that are going on. You wish you didn't get as much of it. I was looking at Twitter this morning, and I'm like, why am I doing this before I start my day? Like, just get you all torqued out before you even out the door. I think it's partly designed for that. The social media is, partly designed to keep you in a whipped up state or whatever.
Well, they're doing a great job.
They really know how to whip up the masses.
Yeah, they've done a good job.
I know it depends on what you follow. You could follow puppies and kitties all day. Instead, you guys are following news outlets. Yeah. You're like, oh man, what did they say this time? Instead, you could just be watching some puppies.
Yeah,
I think that is true. I think you should seek out the more positive. The people that are posting the positive content. It gives you a different perspective versus the the mass media or whatever.
Yeah, there's always positive content out there.
Absolutely.
You don't have to follow the media, the news cycle. You could choose to follow people that are truly influencing and making good decisions. That's always an option, but people just don't take that road for whatever reason.
Yeah.
People always look for the negatives, don't they?
Well, it's easy to find.
It is.
My latest hobby has been going to sports posts, and if I really want to get angry, I'll go to the comments. Makes me so mad. It'll be somebody. I was having this discussion with a buddy of mine the other day. He said, "I hate when people comment on a sports post that says, well, this player is the first player since Michael Jordan to have this stat line." And then people in the comments are like, "Don't even compare him to MJ ever again." It's like, he's not comparing. They're just simply saying this hasn't happened since then.
Stating
If you really want to get angry, go to Sports Center comments. That'll get my blood boiling
Yeah.
pretty quick.
It's funny how and Jordan is a great player, but I mean, you're right that nobody can even have a conversation around, because people instantly go to the don't compare him to anybody.
I don't know what it is. It's like you got.
It's 6 championships and never lost one.
Listen,
He's the
okay.
Tom Brady.
Do you wanna
Dude,
get
I
into this
love
comment?
MJ.
Look, John Havlicek has more rings than MJ has, and he has more rebounds and assists than Michael Jordan. You
who's
don't know who
that?
John Havlicek is?
No, I'm not big in the NBA.
Oh,
Not
well,
super big.
he's one of the greatest Boston Celtics players to ever play. But if you just look at the rings conversation, this white guy that played for Boston in the 80s has more rings.
Larry Bird is a bad man. I
Listen.
love getting the wormhole into those videos.
What's basketball?
Larry
Larry Bird. Man, I'll tell you what.
He goes, Larry Bird. I love his voice. My wife's like, if you say the Larry Bird one more time, I swear to God. My son's walking around the room dribbling a basketball. Larry Bird, Larry Bird.
I love the Family Guy scene where Peter throws up a shot and he's like, "Well, I'm the white Larry Bird."
Hey, those old videos are so awesome. Like nobody talked as much smack as him. Not even Jordan. Like they're like he would be mad if a white dude was guarding him. He'd just be like, "Y'all disrespected me, putting a white dude on me." Like, really?
There was the 3-point. I can't remember what year it was. The 3-point contest.
Yeah.
He walked in.
Said,
and
"Who's y'all playing for second?"
Yeah, he's like, "Who? All right, who's coming in second?"
Didn't even take off his
Didn't take
shirt.
off his warm up jacket or nothing.
Went
He
up
was
there, torched him.
He was a bad man. I think it was like close to like a Christmas game. Maybe it was a Christmas.
It was
game.
an all-star, wasn't it?
Well, it was. This is another story, but some player was talking trash about him, and Larry Bird shot a 3 right in front of the bench and said, "Merry effing Christmas."
Did you see the one where he torched? I think it was the Hawks in Atlanta, and like he put up, I forget how many points, and just right in front of their bench, falling away, and the players at the end of the bench they get fined.
Yes.
Remember that?
Yeah, I do
Like
remember
just
that.
falling out, and
Oh, dude, they were going crazy. One of my favorite things in sports is watching an opposing team's bench when a player on the other team does something ridiculous. You'll see them; they'll stand up real quick and then get settled in. They're not trying to get too crazy.
yeah.
One of my favorite clips is this guy named Gerald Green. He's probably one of the best dunkers of all time. Somebody threw him an alley-oop, and he caught it midair. One of the greatest dunkers of all time. Caught it midair, did a full windmill dunk on a fast break, and you just see the opposing bench just lose it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, something like
everybody-
that, you can't get. You
You
got to.
got it. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
So Larry Bird was I think I don't know if he farmed, but I know his mom. I think he took care of his mom's place.
Really?
in
I didn't know
Indiana.
that.
Yeah, in French Lick.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
neat.
Yeah, because I think they did live on a farm, or he grew up on one. But he's
Yeah.
a farm boy.
Uh,
Indiana.
Who did he play? He didn't play for Crichton, did he?
He played for Indiana State.
Yeah.
Yes. So we went to. My daughter had a dance competition in St. Louis, and it was during they were trying to get into the tournament, and we got to see Indiana State, and people were up there. 33 jerseys to this day. Like it was still mainly
Yeah,
33.
still a
like,
legend.
Still Bird, dude.
Yeah.
He's awesome. They're Indiana State Sycamores.
Yeah, I do remember that. Blue and white, aren't
Yeah, man, and they packed. They brought the crowd too. They did it. You know,
they? They're in Murray State's conference. Is that right? The MAC. Is that what Murray's in
I
now?
can't even. We just went across the.
I think so.
I don't remember. They got beat in the championship game to.
Was it Belmont?
I don't remember. We didn't get to go to the championship game. I don't remember who they played. What conference is it? I don't think it's.
I'm looking it up right now. They're in the Missouri Valley
Oh,
Conference.
yeah, Missouri Valley. Yeah.
So they play Illinois State, I think. That's all I know. Yeah, Missouri Valley.
Yep. Well, I thought Jordan was.
Hey, Larry Bird got you fired up.
Yeah, it did, man. Look,
Perked you up a little
Bird,
bit, didn't it?
Jordan never beat Bird. Beat him maybe a game or two. Regular season, never playoffs. Bird took him.
I mean, Michael Jordan still scored an amazing amount of points against Larry Bird's Celtics teams. So.
Yeah, he did, but didn't count it as a W. Are you a Celtics fan?
No,
Yeah.
I can't stand them.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm an Oklahoma boy, so Oklahoma City Thunder.
Oh,
is
yeah.
is my team.
You got an NBA team?
Mm-mm. No, I like it. When I was in high school, I think the world loved Chicago, just that whole team, you know. But I don't follow them that close, you know. I think the Lakers Celtic that whole thing is pretty cool.
Yeah, I think that's a cool rivalry.
Yeah,
I kind of have always followed Miami just because Pat Riley's down there, and I've been such a heavy UK
I
fan.
love Pat Riley.
Yeah.
I remember the only time I've ever seen him. We were at a SEC tournament in Nashville, and the elevator opens up, and there's Pat Riley. I was like, "Damn, that's Pat Riley," and I couldn't get over how tall he was. Like he's a bigger dude than you think.
6'4", 6'5",
Yeah,
something like that.
he's a
Big dude.
big boy.
He was a fantastic ball player in his own time.
Right.
Yeah.
He went to a pretty good
He
school.
still looks cool, don't he?
Yeah.
He's 80
Still
years
got it.
old or whatever, still.
Still pimping it.
Yeah.
After all those years.
Yeah. Still pretty well respected, too.
Should be.
Yeah. Pittsburgh Steelers fan, aren't you?
Mm-hmm. Steelers first. So, I have a wife and 3 little kids. A girl 10 years old, a middle girl getting ready to be 9, and a boy 7 years to be 8. Anyway, my wife cheered in college. Was a cheerleader at football games. Like couldn't tell you anything. Hated football. Hated it. Well, so I wouldn't get to watch any football around the house because there's 4-on-1. You know. Then my boy starts watching NFL football, and she went from couldn't watch football, like didn't want to watch football till she is a maniac now.
Oh, she loves football?
Oh, dude. So John P. started liking the Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, Daniel likes the Chiefs.
So this was 2 years ago, we went to our first NFL game to Arrowhead. They played Denver. Never been to a ton of baseball games. Can't compare it. Like, Arrowhead is the loudest place I've ever been in my life. Like, it was, when they scored a touchdown, we were all yelling, and I was yelling as loud as I could. Pacheco scored, and I couldn't hear myself. Like, I couldn't hear like, it was just, wow. Well, I was hooked. I'm like, this is
That was fun.
awesome.
Yeah.
So we went back this past year when they were playing Cincinnati, and it was a whole lot colder. There wasn't quite as many people that were there, but it was still like the venue is amazing. I could go every year. Like, it
Arrowhead,
is
is that what you're talking about?
Yes,
still?
Arrowhead.
Yeah.
Cool story. The first time we went, when they played Denver, it was an early game, like the noon game. We get out, Uber back to the hotel, goof off, trying to decide where we're going to eat. So we wanted to go to this place downtown, with a nice restaurant. Place was packed, couldn't eat. So I'm getting hangry. It's about 8:30, and I got John P. on my shoulders. Amanda's got the girl's hands. And out of this nice restaurant, I hear a dude say, "That's a good-looking crew you got there." And I turn around. You know who it is? Dick Vermeil.
Really?
What?
Yes.
No.
I stalled me out. Like, I was so stalled. I'm like, couldn't think. I was like, I was like, Amanda, he was the coach of the Chiefs, coached the greatest show on turf, had his ring on from St. Louis, and I didn't get his picture with him. He would have gladly done it. He's like, man, that's a good looking crew. I was like, you were at the game. We saw you. He's like, well, I was like, well, man, that's awesome to me. See, I just froze up. Dick Vermeil. That's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
Who's the baseball announcer? Is it Steve Kirchin? You know what I'm talking about?
The
ESPN guy?
Oh, yeah.
Tim
yeah.
Kirchin?
Yeah, Tim
Okay,
Kirchin.
So back in 2012, we went to a Cardinals game, a few buddies of mine, and we went to a bar afterwards, and we noticed Tim Kirchin was sitting right there. ESPN
Yeah.
was just playing
Yeah.
Cards and Cubs. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's Tim Kirchin. I got so nervous going up to him. I was like, hey, Tim, don't mean to bug you. Is there any chance we can get a picture with you? We're huge fans. He's like, yeah, absolutely, man. And he
That was a
sounded just
perfect.
pretty good.
Yeah, it was.
he's like, yeah, sure thing.
Yeah, man.
So as we're taking the picture, I'm like, were you at the game tonight? He's like, well, yeah, I was working it. So our whole inside joke is he probably just thinks I'm some idiot.
Yeah.
He tells that story. Some kid in St. Louis asked me if I was at the baseball game I just worked at.
No, I've just
What do you-
been here for the zoo.
I love running into celebrities now because I don't even pay them any attention. Always like what do you do for work? If I run into a
LeBron who?
yeah. I worked for the Oklahoma City Thunder for a short stint on their media department, and so I got to see a handful of the players. I've gotten to see visiting players come through, and after just seeing them and being around them, it's not
that big of a deal anymore.
Not a
Is it?
big deal. So I always promise myself if I do meet a celebrity going forward, I'm just gonna,
Yeah, just blow it off.
honestly, yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be fun to just make them feel smaller than they are because they get praise everywhere.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
So if you're just that one guy,
Just throw them your keys. Say, will you unpark my car for me?
they'll remember that interaction more than they will.
Absolutely.
It's always the best.
So where'd you grow up?
Oklahoma,
Where?
Oklahoma City
Mm-hmm.
specifically.
Did you ever see big tornadoes?
We have some come through.
That's
but
not far from where Moore is, isn't it?
Moore's probably about 30 minutes from me.
Yeah.
People get all wrapped up about tornadoes and the danger of tornadoes. I've lived there for 10 years. I know other people's stories are different. I've never been in a situation to where I needed to take shelter right away.
I think y'all are set up better than we are too, as far as shelters and stuff.
Yeah. Well, like my wife and I, we're building a house right now,
Yeah.
and we're going to put a tornado shelter in the garage. So
That's
they'll
where I
just-
got
they-
one.
a lot of them, they'll just
Where they dig it in, they cut. That's what I did.
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
awesome.
yeah. The
Got
chances,
the metal sliding door, whatever.
Yeah.
over it.
the chances of dying or even getting hit by a tornado are so slim. I mean, even if you don't have one, just find interior walls and you should be fine. So
That
it's
one that rolled through here a few years ago was a.
man,
That's a
yeah.
the
that-
Mayfield tornado.
Don't get me wrong; they are terrifying.
Oh.
But somebody said it perfectly, and it's stuck with me ever since. During storm season, you can tell there's going to be a tornado later in the day because there's just some sort of energy in the air that you can truly feel it. And I couldn't find a way to describe that feeling
Yeah,
until
yeah.
somebody said it. The air is heavier. Nature isn't as vibrant. I think it's a bit more quiet. You can just kind of feel something is going to happen later on.
That's the way it was that day here
Mm-hmm.
in the Mayfield.
Pretty wild how we can sense weather coming on.
Yeah. Yeah, I heard on a podcast a couple of weeks ago that it's actually a American phenomenon that Americans can smell rain and other countries cannot. I thought that was kind of interesting. Like for some reason, Americans can smell a rain coming, and the Europeans were like, like in that certain podcast, the Europeans that were in the podcast were like, what?
Absolutely.
But yeah,
At a certain time, not every time.
Yeah, not
obviously.
every time, but you can definitely, there is a different smell in the air here that.
We were on vacation and it was getting ready to rain, and I'm like, you better get your stuff, Amanda. We finna get wet.
Yeah.
Well, the Europeans have a saying for rain that there's no such thing as bad weather, just bad clothes.
Yeah, true. I get it.
So while we're on the sports, I gotta tell one story, and I think I can't remember. Drew and I used to be degenerates, and we'd go all over the place drinking.
You
and
say that as like a pastime,
yeah,
like past tense.
like it's past tense or whatever.
Speak for yourself.
But I can't remember if you tell me or not if you were with me here. So, St. Louis, it was one of the World Series.
No, I always ask you to tell me the story.
Okay, so
Yeah.
this is a great story, and I've had a chance to run into several like famous people over the years or whatever. But I was sitting at this bar, and it must have been Josh Esper and
It was Josh.
Josh Esper and Burton Gregory were with me, and so we were sitting at this bar, and it was post game, and it was pretty. It was getting pretty late in the evening, 12:30. Everybody was intoxicated pretty heavily. The bar was super crowded, and the bar had begun to dwindle out, and so there was only a few of us in there. Well, I look over, and I was a huge fan at that time of baseball, and I watch baseball tonight every night on ESPN. That would be like when I got in. That's what I was watching was baseball tonight. And Steve, I can't remember his last name. He has blonde hair, and he was the manager of the Mets. Do you know who I'm talking about? He was one of the star hosts on Baseball Tonight.
I know who you're talking about, but I could.
Was it Greeny? Mike Green?
No, I wish I could. I'm gonna have to Google his name because I don't want to get this wrong because I don't want to ruin somebody else's career because his career got ruined by this moment right here. But anyhow, I'll go ahead and tell the story as I'm looking up who this guy is. We were sitting there at the bar and we noticed that I told Esper or whatever, I was like, look, that's Steve from Baseball Tonight. And he was like, oh, dang, it is, and he's sitting there with a couple of his producers or something, and they're just BSing. Well, this, drunk lady starts coming up, and she's very good looking and very intoxicated, and she starts hitting on him or whatever. And by this time in the night, like it's starting to get really late at this point, and the bar is cleared out except for us degenerates left in there or whatever. And is Steve? No,
Is it Buck Showalter?
No,
No,
his
that's
name's Steve.
That's the only Mets.
He was a Mets general manager.
General manager.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
and but this was after his Mets, career or whatever, and he had taken on an announcer role at ESPN or this Baseball Tonight position. But anyhow, the girl starts firing on Steve, and Steve's digging it. Steve's also married. And like as the night progresses, it's probably getting 1:30 or 2:00, and you can clearly see the elevator from the position at the bar we're sitting at. Well, he gets up to go to the bathroom, and when he comes back, the girl hits him up about the elevator and drags him onto the elevator or whatever. And then we I think we end up staying another day or two in St. Louis, go home. And it couldn't have been over a week later, I was sitting there watching on ESPN, and this big scandal unfolds where this girl's like accused him of like, crimes against her or whatever. He loses his job, loses his family or whatever. But I mean, it was one of them things where I was witness to the whole, and it's kind of like one of them surreal moments of my life when
I saw that happen.
Yeah, you see how like easily something like that can happen and ruins his life or whatever.
Absolutely, it's terrible. Yeah, he's looking at that like that was my big F up.
Yeah, if he'd have just laid off that last cocktail or whatever, and just had a little bit of a head about him or whatever.
Is it Steve Berthiaume?
I don't think that.
Do you remember at Wolf's wedding?
At Wolf's
dinner?
wedding.
Remember who was there? The two who were there?
Yeah.
In the what was the name of the? What's the name of that restaurant? It's in Louisville.
Is it J. Alexander's or something?
No. My wife could tell me. Anyway, sitting at this bar, we were at the bar, band playing, sitting at the table right there. Guess who it is? Greatest of all time, Muhammad Ali.
Muhammad Ali. You run into Muhammad Ali?
Yeah, he's eating at the restaurant with
Steve
his family.
Phillips was that guy's name.
Oh, was it?
Steve Phillips. Yeah. Got his career in. But go ahead and tell the story.
No, remember, we're sitting there looking, and there's Muhammad Ali and his entourage of people eating. And I'm like, wow, that's freaking Muhammad Ali. And I look to my right, something catches my eyes, and there's a guy sitting there drinking a beer, just staring at him with his arms like this. Well, UConn had been in town playing Louisville that day, the girls' team, and it's Gene Auriemma staring at Muhammad Ali.
What a room to be in.
Yeah, that's a
What?
neat room,
Yeah.
isn't it?
And
Oh
he-
my gosh.
Gene just can't take his eyes off him. He's just like staring at him, and I'm like, that's pretty cool. You
It
know?
was pretty cool. I do remember like Muhammad Ali just had like it was like an aura about him, kind of. You know, I guess everybody is just like one of the most famous people
It's
ever, or whatever.
He's the most. I had Jordan autograph from Jordan back in the day at a FedEx golf tournament. He's like, "Can I get your autograph?" He said, "Give me $1." I'm like, well. I gave him $1, and I was like, "All right, cool." I was just happy to have his autograph, but Muhammad Ali, you're just like, it was.
Yeah, there's only a few people I think that have that type of influence or
Yeah.
that draw over people. You know, a lot of the who you see are just
Yeah, I was.
they
I
don't
was,
have the aura of some of the
I was
elite
awestruck.
stars.
Like it was just like Muhammad freaking Ali. It's awesome.
Yeah,
But how'd we get off on this? We started talking about football.
start talking about.
Oh, you
football.
said who's your team? I said the Steelers. Yeah, I'm still.
You're a Titans fan?
Mm-mm.
No, I'm not. I don't ever keep up with them either.
As a
They
Steelers fan, you must be happy. You know, having, 3 coaches in the past 60 years, I think.
Yeah, dude. Their organization is the best, one of the best for sure. They're in a rough patch right now, but I think they got a team. They made some moves. I think this year they're going to be different.
Are
I think
you
they'll
on
be good.
the fire Mike Tomlin
Mm-mm.
wagon, or are you on the let's keep him wagon?
I like Tomlin. I think he's pretty good. I think I don't think he's as aggressive as he used to be. I don't think it's him. I think it's just some of the people around him, maybe.
Personnel.
You know what I mean?
Do they have a good quarterback now?
Well, they got Fields. They got him from Chicago, and then they got oh,
Russell
gosh.
Wilson.
Yeah, and I don't think he's gonna be. I don't know. They don't have a Mahomes or a Allen. No, I guess Fields could be. It's hard to tell what he is because he played in such a terrible organization. Honestly,
Is he a young guy?
yeah. I think he could be great. I don't know. I
Rookie
don't
this
think
time?
he is though.
Yeah,
He
we'll
is.
see. Russell,
Rookie.
Russell Wilson's a weird guy to have on your franchise.
I don't know
He
what that was about.
He just runs around with his entourage. When he was in Denver, he asked for his own office away from the rest of the team. Someone said he's the way he acts is like a method actor acting as a quarterback. If you look at a lot of the stuff he posts and how he acts with the media, that's how he.
He's the Daniel Day-Lewis of
quarterbacks.
quarterbacks.
Yeah, that's a good reference.
Yeah.
Not many people know Daniel Day-Lewis.
Just one of the greatest of all time.
Oh my gosh, we were talking about. I was with Johnny Hunter, and we were talking about There Will Be Blood. One of my favorite movies. of
Yeah, it's
all
a great
time.
movie.
So-
good.
So, I've seen it twice, and I talk about it to my wife. I'm like, that's one of the best acting jobs I've ever seen. Like, have you seen at the end of it when at the end scene? Do you hear him at the end? He's like, "That's it." Like, you during the movie, like,
It's finished.
yes.
Yes. Yeah, it's so good.
Have you
It's-
seen clips of between the scenes of him playing that role? Like,
He never
says
falls
he's-
out of it.
no,
does
he goes home with it. Like, and if you've seen this movie, this dude is what's his last
Daniel Plainview.
Plainview.
Mm-hmm.
Disturbing dude, but tough, gets the job done, will do anything to get it done. But he's so good in that.
I think I'm kind of back and forth on actors. I think actors that method act are very talented. However, I think actors that can turn the
Yeah,
switch
like
on and
Jack.
off in between scenes, I
Yeah,
think are even more impressive.
Yeah, for sure. I think if I were gonna act, I believe I would try the method because I think I'd do a better job.
It is interesting to see somebody just never fall out of it. And, the people that do that say that they actually become, like, they can become depressed. Or,
Oh, I think they have to go to therapy a lot of times to
Like
Getting his mind back right.
Yeah.
You just play this. You wake up and you're Abe Lincoln for a year and a half.
Yeah.
And I wasn't crazy about the movie, but what was he? With Leonardo and Cameron Diaz, where he was the butcher.
Oh, Gangs of New York.
Yes, he was so awesome. In
Yeah,
that
that's a
movie, too. Like,
fantastic movie.
everything he's in, he's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really good.
Daniel Day-Lewis is great.
He was in Last of the Mohicans too. wasn't he?
Jeff Bridges is another one I
Jeff Bridges is
absolutely love.
fantastic.
Bridges is great.
Yeah.
Dude.
I'm a big Josh Brolin fan.
Yeah, he's good.
He's great in everything he's in. There's a handful of actors I'll
Yeah.
go to watch just because they're in the movie.
Yeah, 100. Jeff Bridges, his voice, like he won that Oscar on when he was a country music singer. That was one I didn't really like.
What movie was that?
I forget what it was called. He was an alcoholic country music singer.
I don't know if I've seen that one.
Yeah, it's not a lot of people did. I don't think.
He won an Oscar for it. though.
Everything. Yeah, he won. I'm pretty sure that was one of them. I think he's won a couple. Loved him in. Of course, the dude. That was awesome.
The dude.
What was the movie? Seabiscuit. I mean, he doesn't. He's not the. He's one of the main characters, but just everything he does is great. I think.
Let me ask you guys this: what farming movies have you guys seen, and what are some things that farming and movies get wrong about farming?
Well, when you see a movie that go to a farm or whatever, it's kind of like, I'm sure, like when a fighter pilot would go see Maverick, it's just like beating it all up, everything. That's the tell the you know what I'm saying? Like something off the top of my head. I don't know. When's the last time you saw a bunch of a farm scene in a movie?
I don't know, but I do know that like it does seem like every time you see a farm scene in a movie, it's like old beat down. Everything's run down, rusty.
And that isn't the case.
Yeah, that's not the
Can't-
case. There's hard. I mean, I know you can go to the deep south and kind of see.
Yeah.
Because
Even out there where we used to deer hunt out in Kansas, Southwest.
you see,
know,
it's, well, they're in such an arid environment out there. They don't have to.
yeah. Either they have the brand new equipment.
Yeah.
They're doing the roll, or it's rust.
Yeah,
rusted.
30 years old or whatever.
Yep.
I think everything, like even on the small farms nowadays, everything's upkept pretty well. So you just don't see I can remember when I was a kid a lot more of that look that
Yep.
you would see portrayed in the movies of like everything being like old and run down and
Yeah.
in disrepair and I'm not saying there isn't places still like that in America, but by and large, a lot of that,
Percentage-wise, no.
yeah, a lot of that's gone now.
Yeah, I didn't grow up in farming. I was from like a white collar family. My dad's dad farmed. My mom's dad sold farm equipment. But my dad's dad told him to find an indoor job, so that's what he did. So he's worked for Walmart his whole career. When I got into the creative space, I got into the Western scene, cowboys, ranching, cattle. That was kind of where I got my start. So being around that, I noticed how much the scarcity mindset was. And with raising cattle, you don't need much. Put them on a field, let nature do its thing. You give them vaccines, you brand them once a year, and that's it. You don't touch them. Outside of that, that's pretty much it. You got your horses, you got your saddles. Everything is just hand-me-downs or bargain trades. People have, second, third jobs to kind of help support that. So it's a very simple lifestyle. But when I came into the farming scene back in March, I learned there's so much engineering, so much science, so much math. You guys are all weathermen. You're all businessmen, salesmen. I mean, there's
Finance.
finance. So much risk and analysis is involved. And some of the smartest people I've met so far have just been farmers. And I had no idea, but that's because of just how the media tends to portray people in agriculture, right? So I'm really, every person I've met so far has just blown my mind with how much they analyze things and they're able to put scientific method into their crops and their yield. I feel like I'm fairly educated. I couldn't even tell you how you get nitrogen in the ground, So Yeah.
It is. There's a lot of difference between the eastern farming practices and the west, and the scarce mindset of the west. But I mean, I think there's goods and bad to that. Like I noticed, Drew and I for years we would go out to Calvesta, Kansas, and hunt in that area, and got to be on a lot of the farms out there, and like the amount of hardship that they have went through in the decade or plus that we were going there is hard to imagine. And they seem as vibrant when we came as when we left, even though over a decade of drought they just learned to manage through that type of environment where, like, there's not many farms here in the east that could weather that without folding up. So we do run our farms a lot differently, but like I do admire some of their grit.
Sure, 100%. They are tough, and they to live out there and have your business out there, like they never turn it off. I don't think, and I know some people that are still out there and just workaholics. Honestly, the farmers that I still know out there, one guy's younger than me, has a wife and kids. His dad hired a guy to do nothing but spray. He said, "Look, this is your job. You're only going to spray, because if I don't hire you, my son is going to be divorced because he's never home."
Yeah.
Like they just can't turn it off. You know what I mean?
They're a different breed out there.
They're
Tougher
tough.
than whip of leather.
Yeah.
I remember like Tony Whipple would, we hunted on his ranch a lot, and like we'd be out or headed deer hunting at 4 a.m. He's already out feeding cattle
Every day.
And-
no, every day.
Yeah,
Never was he.
never misses a day.
Never. I don't ever recall stepping a foot on that farm before daylight and him not already be there.
Agree.
Well, and we'd be getting to the blinds 30, 45 minutes before dark.
Yeah, and
Before daylight.
there's not a lot of trees out there, so we'd have to stay till it was pitch black dark, so
Yeah.
the deer didn't see. And like he'd still out, like headlights on, still out there.
And remember his dad, they would always go every night to a
Basketball game.
women's basketball. Didn't care for boys as much as girls.
Yeah.
Said the women's game was a more pure form of the game.
Somebody, I dated a basketball girl back in my day, and the way she put it was, if you watch women's basketball, it might not be as entertaining, but if you're looking for true fundamentals of the game, that's where you go to watch that. It's like the purest form of the game.
That's exactly what he'd say. Grover Whipple.
I think that's the only thing I ever saw him take off for was basketball.
That's it.
I mean, other than basketball, they were working. That was like they kept a chicken coop out there.
Remember?
And like if they was not feeding cattle or fixing fence, they were nursing a sick calf.
Do you remember the look on Grover's face when we pulled up that one afternoon and had a truck bed full of corn? He's like, we'd hunted out there several years and never used corn. Then we're like, what are we doing? Let's try corn. I bet it works great out here. Wow, it did. But anyway, he looks at us and goes, what are you going to do with that? We're going to make a couple piles to deer hunt. And he's like, you're giving that to the deer? I'm like, yeah, that's the plan.
He thought we'd lost our mind.
Yeah, he's like, these guys are insane. Anyway, so we both shoot a deer that week or whatever, and he's looking over there, like we're telling him we're loading up, and he's looking over there, and he can see the pile there. He goes, y'all done with that pile? I said, yes, sir. And he goes over there, scoops up, and feeds his cattle. Like they were like super frugal. Like he wasn't going to
waste a pound of it.
Like probably didn't have a couple 100 pounds left out there, but he's getting the most. Like he got it.
Oh, they got the biggest bang for their buck.
Yeah.
I thought.
I just remember the look on his eyes. Like he was so disappointed. Like if I was his son, he would have wrung my neck.
Oh, for sure. Well, he thought we were crazy.
Yeah.
He couldn't believe that we were coming, 12, 13 hours or 16 hours or whatever it was west to hunt a deer. I remember the first time we pulled up on that ranch out there. and we introduced ourselves, and they were just salt of the earth, great people or whatever. And he said, "Y'all want to come out here and do what?" And we were like, "Hunt the white-tailed deer." And he was like,
What else? You know, he just thought there was something else to it.
"You,
You'll have good deer.
you're gonna, you
He
want to
said,
hunt?
don't y'all have deer out there?
You're gonna hunt my pheasants too?" And we were like, "No, we just want to hunt your deer. You can do whatever you want to do with your pheasants."
Yeah. Speaking of deer, I finally got a picture of a deer that is probably pretty decent for the year. I hadn't had a deer good in years, like 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, that's a good one. So, Chloe, that's a really good one. So, so Drew and I are one of the things that have bonded us so closely over the years is our love for hunting, and I don't get to as much as I used to, but Drew's still pretty active and got his kids into it now.
Yeah, a couple of them, like turkey hunting. My son likes. Oldest daughter went turkey hunting for the first time this year and got lucky first time, and then John P, my son, is eating up with it and gone on some really cool hunt, best hunt that him and I have gone on, and he killed a couple this year. Yeah, so he likes it in deer too. I think he's eating up. He's like, as soon as turkey season was over with, he's like, "Daddy, what can we hunt now?" I'm like, "Well, we could fish now." He's like, "No, not fish. What can we hunt?" I'm like, "We're gonna have to wait till August, bub. Squirrel season." He's just, wow. I'm like, "You're not gonna be this do nothing but, hunt all the time. You're gonna do your school and play your sports, and then we'll hunt if you're doing good in both of those." But he's gonna have to be curbed just like his daddy did.
Yeah.
Was. I had that in me.
What's
Yeah, I did
your
too.
preferred method of hunting, or I guess what's your favorite thing to hunt? Is it pheasant? Is it deer? Are you duck hunter? Turkey? What's what gets you up in the
two. There's two of them really. I like squirrel too. I could almost count that, but the two. There's no better feeling than walking up on a big whitetail. Like, it doesn't happen for me. It doesn't happen very often, and to walk up and see like a truly good deer, or what I would call it a truly good deer, is the high of highs. Now, what do I like day in and day out the most? Probably turkey hunting, because like turkey hunting is like a drug. You shoot one, you shoot a good deer in a year, it's like
Yeah, you're done.
you're relieved. You're just like, oh my goodness, it's great. You shoot a turkey the next day, you're like, I want to shoot one worse the next day. You know what I mean? So we live in an area where there's several states so you can get multiple tags, but I do love turkey hunting too. I love hunting like the LBLs, the big public tracks where you get to hunt the sharpest of the sharp birds. That's a lot of fun. But
There's a lot of action in turkey hunting.
mm-hmm.
Tell another story about the Kansas. So Drew killed a fantastic whitetail out there while we were out there, and I remember was it the very first hunt that I sat and saw that deer?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you went to the U-shaped line, and I went to the west side of the farm, and you saw him right out of the gate.
Yeah, I remember it got daylight that morning, and the deer was not that far from me, and he was kind of in a brush pile, and I thought it was just breaking daylight, and I thought it was actually wood on his head at first because he was in that kind of dead wood, and I couldn't see the difference between the dead wood and his horns, and I was like, if that's the deer I think it is, the best deer I've ever seen in my life, and he kind of like went down. There was the Pawnee River that went through there, and he had dropped down in the Pawnee River, and I didn't see him until maybe an hour later that morning. And there was a scrape at the end of that U-shaped field. It was like just a main hub scrape. And I just happened to be looking at another really good deer. I think it was the deer that I might end up shooting that season or whatever. But I was kind of watching him, and I didn't know what to shoot. We'd seen a bunch of good deer just by a glass. And the big deer that Drew wound up shooting, what that deer score to?
No, 191.
191.
I call him boss. But do you remember that grass that was beside that scrape? all these deer would walk past this tall grass, and you could see, like, just the tines of the rackers. Some you could see their main beams. When this deer walked through there, you could see his head. Like he was that much. Just his body was that much bigger, just taller, longer.
Just a
It's just a
humongous
different
animal.
animal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember telling Drew when I got in that night, I saw the biggest whitetail I've ever
We
seen in
had
my life.
walkie-talkies, remember?
Not
You were hollering at me, that your voice was shaking. You're like, dude, I just seen the biggest deer ever. And you're like, he's like, you can't believe how big he is. And I just was like, oh my gosh, I'd like to see that thing.
and I think it was probably about 7th or 8th day we were out there. I ended up shooting a buck.
Yeah.
My wife was like, "You have got to get home."
Yeah.
And
I wasn't married at the time.
Yeah.
So
I think I had Bonnie was.
yeah, you had Bonnie.
I think so. And anyhow, I had to get home, so I didn't want to, but I think Kansas still had another 4 or 5 days left in season, something like that.
Yeah.
Anyhow, I went home and I remember I was in the Sam's parking lot,
It's 12:21 when I shot him. That it was hot, like 75 degrees the other day.
and I was talking to Drew, and he's like, "There he is," or something like that.
And I called you right after I shot him. I said, we were texting back and forth because I won't go through the joke I was saying because it was about the blind. Remember that?
Yeah.
But anyway, and I was laughing about something. And Neil and I were texting. The deer had the scrape he's talking about was 285 yards on the edge of the field, and he'd cut through there a couple times. I never could get on. I wasn't on my sticks and scope to shoot him, and he did it the day before. And I was like, it's the 11th day that I'd been hunting, and I was physically, mentally whipped because we had to drive an hour there and an hour back to get. We were staying at Dodgers.
Yeah.
And I was on my sticks, had the sticks on my leg and the gun in my lap. I said, I'm sitting here to dark. Like, if this will be one of those days where he doesn't show up, but I about mentally whipped. I got to shoot him or go. And I'm like, I have tears in my eyes at this joke Neil and I talked about. And I see a deer walking, it's sunny. I'm in short sleeve shirt and pants. And I just see I can see, ooh, it's a buck. So I just get on my scope, get over there on him. I'm like, yep, that's him. Clicked it off. He never stopped. He just cut the corner of this woods. And as soon as I saw hair, his front shoulder, I touched it off and looked up, and there was nothing. He wasn't there. I was like, what? I would have seen him run off. He didn't fall right there either because I could see that. And that's when I called you. And I was like, man, I just shot at him. I don't know if I hit him. You're like, dude, you hit him. Go get him.
I said, "You see hair in the scope?" I remember what I said.
Yeah,
I said, "You see hair in the scope?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "You got him."
Yeah, and yeah, he was a really cool deer, real good deer.
Yeah, that was a cool time of life.
That was a fun stretch of years
Yeah, it
right there.
was.
That's
phenomenal.
when we were arrowhead hunting and digging too.
Yeah,
And
lots of deer, lots of turkeys,
lots of deer, lots of turkeys, lots of
late nights in the bars.
Yeah. Yeah. That was
That's a lot different than my life now.
100. Yeah, you couldn't drag me to a bar.
Now it's minus bar, minus deer, minus turkey, minus late nights. Still do a little area hunting.
You're lucky, like, if your kids ever start getting into sports, you'll do late nights again. Like this weekend, we're going to our middle girl plays on a travel ball softball team, so we're going to Bowling Green. I'm sure that'll involve getting home after midnight, but I'm not complaining, man. I love my life right now.
Oh, no doubt. I'm not complaining either. I actually couldn't live the way I lived.
No, I wouldn't.
That long ago.
No, and the way I look at it, like 10 years from now, man, I'm gonna have some kids that are out of the house, like probably at college.
Oh, for sure.
Better.
Yeah, better soak it
Make
up.
the most of.
No doubt. Yeah, 10 years from now, both my kids will be grown.
Yeah, so I got a 10, 11, 12-year window where it can, hopefully have the most influence and do as best we can to teach them what we think's the best, God. And
That's coming for Eric soon. Just got married.
game changer, dude.
We'll wait.
Hey, I wait. I wait
You
until
got
I was
plenty
40.
of time. Yeah.
You don't want to wait that long.
That's-
Promise you. There's a reason why people have kids when they're younger. It's that energy level. Like I'm 50, and I'm chasing around these 10-year-old. The energy level, they're on another planet.
Oh, no doubt.
I had my mother-in-law and my mother were on our case at the beginning. And they were like, well, we're not getting any younger. And I'm like, well, me neither.
Yeah.
I'm getting,
I think that's all. That's all mothers and mother-in-law. They want those grandbabies.
I know.
100%.
We finally put it to rest, so I think they know we're getting a house. So
Yeah.
I think that can hold.
It's
off,
good to get
but
your life organized and be ready for them when they come. Because
I don't think there's anything wrong with.
No.
I don't either. Because once they're there, it's
There's no going back.
preparation is gone.
Yeah, and
You just fly by the seat of your pants by that time.
yeah, and I think it's probably good to. How long have you been married? Yeah, you're going to look back at this once you start having kids, and you're going to talk to your wife, and you're going to be like, "Do you remember when it was just us?" Because the window for my relationship and my wife's, like, that window was minimal. Like, we started dating 6-7 months later, engaged, got married that following year. So, dude, enjoy it, have your fun.
Mm-hmm.
Because once you start having kids, you are not going to be number one.
That's the plan.
Yeah.
We're also okay with being the cool aunt and uncle
Yeah.
that give our nieces and nephews money, slip them $100 bill. So we're okay with doing that too. So.
Yeah, spoil them and send them home.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You got what from Uncle Eric? That's always an option. But
Absolutely.
right now we're just hanging out, enjoying life,
Enjoy it.
enjoying marriage.
Serious.
Yep.
Enjoy it.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it's so much different post children than before children.
Yeah.
So,
I don't. Your attention isn't on. Your focus isn't on about that one person. It's
yeah, you have
less
to.
on that.
I mean, you gotta. I mean, when you got a baby, it's just everybody has to focus on the care of that child.
I had such a hard time with not being the focus of her attention. I almost got a divorce because I just was.
I mean, it was a huge Drew and I were both late fathers or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest transition in my life was between that mindset that I, business first, then hunting, then arrowheads,
Mhm.
and then whatever else, to family must come first.
100.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was not a good father at first. It just took me a while to grow into that role. Now I feel like I'm adequate. Not like I'm the best dad ever, but I feel like I'm a good father to my parents. To my kids. It just took a while to get to that point.
Like I 100% suffered from that. Like I was at first, I just felt like I wouldn't. What am I going to do? I don't have the milk truck. I can change the diaper, but I didn't change a lot of diapers. My wife, I didn't do it probably the way she would have liked it, and just still selfish. But then once you get past that, and you're like, all right, no, it isn't about me, dummy.
Yeah. I mean, when you finally buckle down, it becomes easier in your marriage too. When you're
Marriage is 10 times better, and I just want to be there for your kids, and don't want them to go to school and get brainwashed by.
Elon says that woke mind virus.
It is a terrible.
It is.
To kind of get toward the closing this out, as you guys talking on the parent thing, as someone who's not a parent and right now no plans of having children, what would you say is your biggest piece of advice for sustaining your relationship with your spouse, seeing as how kids become your priority, right? So how do you prioritize your marriage on top of that?
I think it's very difficult to balance that type of, the relationship between the kids and your wife, especially once. I mean, it's hard to balance the relationship between just your wife first. But I think for us, the biggest thing is like to still have time where the kids go to the grandparents or they're off doing whatever they're doing, and we can, and it might just be a simple like 10 minutes of conversation or something where we can just connect on a level that where there's not somebody else present, and that way for us, it feels like we still have a relationship outside our children or outside our family, where we're still friends and we can still laugh together and communicate, versus
Talk
Yeah.
about your kid.
Yeah,
Have
when
conversations about.
yeah, when the kids are there, they're asking. Our kids want to ask questions about everything.
Yeah,
you
sure.
know, and so even if we're having a conversation and the kids are around, they're still interjecting questions, or just talk. Just being silly. Yeah. What about you?
Same thing. Like I said, went through a terrible stretch and got through it. Thank God. And trying to find balance. Time where you sit and look at each other and have a conversation. It could be about the kids or just about anything. Just make time for your spouse as much as you can. And look, my wife's chasing kids all day, and at the end of the day, she didn't want to sit down every night and watch a 3-hour movie and talk for 3 hours. Not, maybe most couples do. We don't. We, have sometimes a 5-minute conversation or sometimes a 2-hour conversation, somewhere. Just communicate, stay in touch, and that's what works for us.
Yeah, it works for
Everybody's
us too. I
different.
think that's the biggest key is just stay connected.
Have time for each other.
Yeah.
Still joke, like my wife knows that I'm mad about something. If I'm not joking with her, she's like, "What are you mad about?" But everybody's different. I don't know.
Big adjustment for like in the first year, and then the second year, Eric, not as bad.
I think the thing I noticed when I first got married, previously, I was very I looked forward to my alone time. I looked forward to me time a lot. If I traveled, I was like, just time away from my girlfriend. Well, now that I'm married, it's the opposite. It's like, I don't want to travel because that's my best friend. I don't want to, I just want to be back home. Any time I'm out of town, even if it's for a day, it's like, I just want to be back home with my wife. It's the greatest thing. We have a very healthy marriage. We communicate well. We don't necessarily get angry very often. We have this rule where, if something we call it the 24-hour rule, or at least I do. But if something bothers me or happens, I kind of just wait on it instead of reacting a lot of the time. And if I forget about what I was angry about 24 hours later, it wasn't worth bringing up in the first place. So, yeah, but if it still, it lingers, then that's when I decide to have a discussion. But yeah, it's just constantly, I feel like we're still learning a lot about each other.
You're never going to quit.
Oh, I know. The goalposts of what's gross and what's acceptable keeps moving,
More and more
Just like you have
blurred.
kids.
I know. Oh, laundry hasn't been done in 10 days. Baskets piling up, but that's okay. There's little habits here and there, but yeah, I think my biggest thing I've learned in marriage is just prioritizing that relationship, because I assume after kids that won't be there, but
Yeah.
still making time for you two, because that's ultimately what it started out with.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
and that's going to be your partner for life, hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So always making it a priority to make time for that.
For sure.
Yeah. Because for us, after work, because I work from home a lot, when she gets home, we essentially put our phones away. That's our time to connect. Sundays, we completely put our phones away.
That's awesome.
So it is a good luxury to have. So
The phones will eat all your time up if you let them.
100%.
yeah. Now there's
correct.
times where we sit on our phones
Sure.
together.
Yeah.
But we try to spend time. Whether that's going out into town or running errands or just being at home. So.
Yeah, even like the Aaron thing. Like, if I've picked my wife up, like, I'm in Paducah right now. You wanna I got to run to Lowe's or something. You want to just run over there with me? Yeah, just pick her up. Just little things. And I remember one time it was funny because she said she was kidding, but I know she wasn't. She's like, you know what? I got home, dropped her off at the house. Said, love you. I'm going to work. She goes, you know what? I still kind of like you. You know what I mean? Like you remember? No.
Yeah.
I'll take that as a compliment, I guess.
We call it our fun drink time. Anytime we go run errands, hey, you want to go get a fun drink at Sonic?
Yeah.
That's what we do. So always get a cherry limeade.
Yeah.
Always have to. It's an Oklahoma
Those
staple.
type of things are fun.
Yeah. It's the little purchases that make it all worth it. You know?
Well, we've got to an hour and a half. It wasn't as bad as you thought, was it? Podcast?
No, dude, no, it wasn't. It was easy. A lot easier than I thought. It's just the not knowing,
Yeah. You come back and visit us again?
Never. Yeah, I'll be back.
So,
Y'all want to go look at some stuff?
Yeah, we're about to ride over to Southern Illinois and check out what's going on over there in that geography.
Let's make it happen.
All right. Thanks for listening, and like, share, and subscribe.